Is there a shift in the mentality? Because we want to talk about how is it people now? Because when we grew up, we always thought that we would be there to take care of our parents and things like that. Talking about people right now working in the working class who have aging parents, is there a big difference in change of mindset, thinking that people are ready to ask for help rather than taking the responsibility on themselves? Because they feel, children feel it's a responsibility from them, for they themselves to take care of their parents rather than hiring a service. So how is that different in countries like Malaysia and Singapore? And do you feel there's maybe a mentality change in where people are thinking like, I think I can't do this, I really need some help and things like that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of struggling and a mix of emotions. Often we see with caregivers. Caregivers are often people who are helping to coordinate and manage care for their parents, are typically the children. And you see this new form of stress because there are a lot of considerations. The family unit has shrunk, so oftentimes this individual is also dealing with many commitments. From a financial standpoint, they might have no choice, they have to work. So we do see that sometimes it's not a should I, but they have to, because in order to pay for medical bills, to pay sustain their living expenses for the family, and so they need the help. And I think the mentality has shifted that's why it's also good to have more discourse about it. And I see conferences like organized by ADI like this is so important and fundamental, because there's more awareness. When there's more awareness, they feel that actually it's not a taboo, or there's no stigma on asking for assistance and help.
Because that's the thing. We especially in Malaysia, we don't find anybody trying to ask for help. It's looked down. If you ask for help, you're kind of weak. You don't know how to handle your problems and things like that. So when Homage came in trying to open up the market, were people quite against what you guys do, or were people quite accepting in what you guys do? What were the few challenges when you started Homage?
Yeah, I think that's why we recognize the need for people they need to open up. So we have what we call a care advisory function, because when people call in, oftentimes they're not sure what they need, and there's also a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. And sometimes, to your point, right, there's also guilt. Like, what should I do? Why am I so?
Guilt is very
the
important,
guilt. Yeah. And so the function of the care advisory is just to have them to be able to talk to someone and help get the advice. And there's a lot of so we do see that when at the point when they have the awareness and they're able to talk about it, and we find the right care plan that is unique. So, for example, a lot of families, they are just taking care of us, but they are using us 3 times a week, 3 hours each session, just to help with the mornings, so that they can get a bit of rest 3 times a week. So we'll help them with taking care of the personal hygiene, bed bath, helping them stay active, provide some form of other exposure to social interaction. So I think that's always a good thing. But then the rest of the time they feel more equipped. But coming back to your question on we do see that the moment there is that they understand what is the best combination and how to fit it into what's right for their family, they are able to, the anxiety goes away. Then there's something that gets lifted off. But that initial phase,
burden is lifted off.
Yeah, the burden is lifted off. But the initial phase is they need to first gain the assurance that there's no one size fits all. So you can't find this silver bullet and it will just solve all your problems. So it's how you understand what's the best care solution unique to you. So in that sense, maybe that's what people call the person-centered care approach nowadays, which is very important. Yeah.
Okay. And let's talk about people who are watching right now and who they want to think about taking care of their elders. Maybe there's a son or a daughter watching right now, even a grandson and a granddaughter watching this right now. One of the questions they would have is, when is the right time to start planning this? Even an elderly person watching this thinking that I'm going to get old in the next 5 years or in the next few years, when is the right time for me to actually start planning to make sure that I age gracefully or even age without any complications and things like that? So when is the right time?
Yeah, it's interesting. I do that with my own mom too. I think is to not look at aging as it's this taboo subject where and it's going to happen to everyone,
Yeah.
right? And
Everybody's going to grow old.
Everyone's going to grow old,
Yeah.
and it's just like how, for example, we talk about planning for retirement. I think the same approach, and of course, also the risks of retiring too early and being very conscious of your retirement options. And I think I like to talk about it that way because then it takes off some of the like, oh, don't go there, because because
people are so afraid of talking about getting old and growing old and being fragile and things like that.
And with retirement as well, like not saving enough, there's risk. So I think there are things that you need to recognize that yes, these are the things that could potentially happen. It's not just like how you're taking care of your children, and your children when they're running out on the road, there's that some bad things could happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to just understand, okay, these are and have a very balanced approach towards it. Not I guess always like warning, kind of being very pessimistic and negative. Oh, we're all going to die, all these things. But really being very realistic and balanced with approaching. There are going to be, there are these prevalence rates and incidence rates of these chronic conditions. So we have at least to understand what it means and how to get prepared. So I do believe that the earlier the better. The earlier the better. People in their 20s, 30s to get exposed, and they will be exposed because if you look at so I always say it's not a them issue, it's a you and I issue. Just because your father or your, someone's parents or someone's grandparents are facing it, the children are impacted too. So to help them understand early on is a good thing, and I think the more education in general, if we look at financial education in the same way, in general, you want your kids to have more financial education early on as well. So I would argue for the same thing. So the more aware they are, and the more that parents can help to educate our youth and the teenagers, the kids, on what's happening to grandma, and the more insights into this topic, generally, I think it's going to benefit society as a whole.